Welcome back to beginningdeveloper.com. So you have a Maven project right now, and you have a library that you'd like to use. How do you do that? Well, with this video, we're going to go ahead and import a dependency and see how it's used inside the application. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, while I was looking over the open source project that we've been using in previous videos, I noticed a bug, and I figured it was a perfect learning opportunity to fix the bug for this unknown developer, but also to learn more about the dependency management system that makes a Maven just fantastic. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. As you'll see on line 9, a connection is created from the DB, and a prepared statement is created. All the things that are set, we execute the prepared statement, we close the connection, and then we return what status it is, whether it was successful or not. The bug here is actually a resource link, specifically a resource link of connection type. Now, what is that and why is it important? Well, actually what is happening here is pretty simple, but it can be pretty bad in a system, whether it's small or large, and it's something we want to try to avoid. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about a library and import that into our project that can solve this issue, and hopefully this developer knows that in the future, whomever it is. So what it is pretty much a connection is created. We always want to close that connection, so that way it's not being used. It's not just, I mean, if you've used it, you close it. Simple as that. I won't go into connection management for the sake of this video. But for instance, if something happens to this insert query, whether it's written incorrectly or something happens to the database or the data that's inputted into it is wrong, whatever happens, at line 17, it will fail. And what happens when that fails? It goes to line 20, and because it throws an exception, the exception is caught here and it is printed out. Well, that means line 18 is never called, which means the connection that we created on line 9 is never closed, and so we have a resource leak, specifically a connection leak. So what are we going to do? We're going to go ahead and fix that, and then we're going to continue on with the rest of the video. So I'm going to write this real quick. We're going to add a finally. And we're going to move line 19 inside the finally. So this would potentially fix our situation. It's complaining at us, and we're going to go over that. And this is where the library I really like comes into play. So there's two things you can do. You can either add a throw, which will mean whenever we get that connection, we can, or whenever we get an exception from this, we'll throw it further up the stack, or we can try catch. The common way of doing things, which is not the best way, is to surround it with another try catch. I don't personally like this because if you have a big application, you have lots of connections, you also have a try-catch within another try-catch, it's just the readability is not good. So what I like to do is actually use a Apache provided library. It's Apache Commons DB utils that will help us out. So we'll go over that here in a second, but let's first get that in our project so that way we know what we're doing. Or what we're using, I guess I should say. So I already have the Maven repository pulled up. I've done a search off of the Apache Commons, and I got the DB utils, which I will show you that real quick. I simply did a search here, and I found it, first result, because I know what I'm looking for. I picked the newest version. And there's my dependency for Maven. There's also one for Gradle, SBD, IV, and so on and so forth, but we're only concerned with Maven. So we've copied our dependency. And now you're like, okay, well, what are we going to do with that dependency? Good question. We are going to go to our POM, which hopefully you're familiar with by now, but if not, you will soon when you start using it. And we have something we actually need to have added before we can add our dependency, which is our dependencies element. So dependencies, it's already popping up for us. Okay. Now that we have that, we can add our dependency that we just copied from the repository, and now we should have access to it. So let's go ahead and go back to our book DAO, and I'm going to leave all of this try catch in here, so that way I'm just going to comment it out, so that way you can actually see the before and after. So let's go ahead and do DB utils, and there it is right there, Apache Commons DB utils. Dot close quietly. Pass it our connection, and that's it. So what does this do? Why do I like this? What's the whole purpose of this? Well, this is just another useful library. Keeps things really clean and consistent. This makes it to where if for some reason this connection was never created, which means it was null, or if there was an exception, or if this connection has a problem closing, which it throws a SQL exception, this will close it quietly, which means there's no need for this try catch. I personally just like this for a few reasons that I just stated, but mainly it keeps our code clean and concise, and also makes it to where we don't have to worry about all those exceptions. And since this has a potential chance of either erroring out by being null, this just makes it to where we can actually get in there. The close quietly, I just downloaded the library to try to show you. It pretty much just closes it and then swallows the exception. So there's no reason. I mean, I'm just trying to close the connection if I need to, if it throws an error. I know I need to. So that's pretty much it. This video is more designed. I saw this bug and I just figured it was a good learning opportunity because it's a library that I use daily. I really am a big fan of it. But yeah, I mean, in the POM you can actually, oh man, you could put so many different things in there. There's so many different dependencies we could talk about. We could talk about Google Guava. We could talk about Apache Commons IO. There are countless amounts of really good libraries out there. One of my favorite expressions that I heard when I first became a developer was, don't reinvent the wheel. If there's a better piece of software out there, go ahead and do it. If you're interested in reinventing the wheel, by all means. But if you're just using it as a tool in your toolbox to create amazing applications, go ahead and use them. That's why they're there. And the Maven repository has all those there for you. So hopefully you learned how to import dependencies. And if you have any other questions, concerns, comments, or if you just need some help, please leave a comment below and I'll make sure to get back with you. As always, thanks for watching.